I didn't really ever want to talk about this, but I kind of feel like I have to because I just keep seeing it everywhere. So let's talk about Coho and the coloring book. Welcome back. Hello. We're in StreamYard. That means that I'm reacting to something. And today we're going to talk about all the stuff that went down with our dear friend Colleen Hoover and her It Ends With Us coloring book that was announced and then quickly pulled. We're also going to put something on my face because this is one of like 3 videos I want to quickly film today before I have to go see my mother because we still have not done Christmas in our little family because things have been really busy. I'm going to share this little article that I saw pop up. I mean, I've been seeing everything around between like Book Talk and everything else, but I found this little article that I thought we could go through. And then, like, in some of the discords I'm in, there's been a lot of discourse about Coho and everything that's been going on and about It Ends With Us and whether or not it's okay that she was attempting to do a coloring book. Before we get into this, I just want to make some couple disclaimers because it seems that since I've started doing these like reaction things, not just being like, hey, I read this book, but talking a little bit more about things happening in the community as a whole, I've been getting a lot more comments about like, you know, people having issues or like getting butthurt about stuff. And like, cool. I don't care if you're gonna say stuff in my comments, say stuff in my comments, that's fine. I'm not always gonna respond to things because sometimes, like, if you're gonna call me a rambling clown, what do you want me to say to that? I can't send you gifts, otherwise I would send you some fun gifts. And if other people are responding to things, I don't feel the need to dogpile on people because I don't think that I mean, that's definitely not one of my favorite things that the internet does. The dogpiling isn't my thing. So if you feel like you want to spew something in here because you feel compelled to be mad at me about talking about Coho, go off, sis. I don't care. I'm not trying to condemn anybody for reading Coho. I'm not trying to like condemn Coho. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just trying to talk about what has occurred sort of objectively. Obviously, I'm going to have bias and things like that. I'm a human being, and also these are my opinions. But like, if you want to read them, read them. If you feel a certain way, feel a certain way. If you want to tell me how you feel, fine. The other things I will never stand if you're in my comments and you're being like bullying to other people, bully me. I don't give a fuck. People literally punch me at work. It's fine. You can say whatever you want to me on the internet. That's fine. But don't bully other people. That I'm not going to be okay with. So just keep that in mind. Those are the general rules for the comment section because I feel like sometimes certain people just get everybody in their feels. Anyway, so let's talk about this little article that I saw. Make me small. There's this, I think they're Australian, but anyway, I really enjoy their Instagram account. They do like more industry, like in general industry, like celebrity industry kind of news articles. So they touch on film and books and television and all that kind of stuff. And they came out with this article. It says Colleen Hoover sold over 1 million books thanks to BookTok. Now her fans are trying to cancel her. And like, I don't know if her fans are trying to cancel her. I wonder if, I mean, maybe, I don't know. There's one TikTok in particular that I think they're referencing. So you can probably see the thumbnail. There's some booktubers tagged, and I wonder if like this is the TikTok that they think is supporting the idea TikTok has canceled Colleen Hoover. And I need to know if you guys think that this, I don't know, just here, hold on. This one here from Kevin.
I love the book talk community because this was announced and so many things wrong with this. And now, because everyone spoke out about how terrible this is, it is no longer happening. Colleen Hoover posted on her Instagram that the coloring book is no longer going to happen. But then she went on to say, I can absolutely see how this was tone deaf. Tone deaf is an ableist term that we should not be using going forward. The term tone deaf perpetuates the stigma against disability and deafness. In essence, it's saying that being deaf is bad. What word she should have used and what she's being right now is insensitive.
So we're not going to talk about the tone deaf stuff because like we're not here. That's what we're not talking about. But I don't know if it's because Kevin and creators like him made comments about how happy they are to see it taken down. But I don't really know if that means that Colleen Hoover was necessarily canceled. But let's read this. Have you noticed a new section in your local bookstore? One piled high with novels with abstract covers and bright glossy embossed titles. One with a sign hanging confidently above it, a sign that reads hashtag BookTok. Well, let us introduce you to what the heck that means and the controversy that has since followed. BookTok is a corner of TikTok devoted to book words, blah, 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 blah. I think we all know this. We're here. We know what BookTok is, right? If you take a scroll through hashtag BookTok, there's one author you're bound to see pop up almost immediately, Colleen Hoover. Hoover was a 43-year-old American romance author from Texas. She had self-published a few novels, building up moderate success, and had a big break that came with her novel It Ends With Us, the book which Hoover herself describes as the hardest book I've ever written. It follows the fictional life of Lily Bloom, who witnesses domestic violence at a young age, with her father abusing her mother before growing up and falling into a violent relationship herself. It Ends With Us became the book everybody wanted to talk about on BookTok. I don't know about that part, but fans were filming themselves reading the book, sharing footage of them crying in response to certain chapters, and posting their gushing reviews of the novel. And the momentum has grown ever since. Readers wanted to post their own reviews and respond to others' thoughts on the novels and fantasies about why Hoover had chosen certain character arcs and characters. Hoover, in response, did what every author would do if given the chance. She joined the mayhem. The author began posting her own TikTok content. I mean, she was always very active on Bookstagram, which I think is interesting that they're kind of like neglecting that. Colleen Hoover was always very, and she has always been in her socials. Well, I won't say most, a lot of self-pub authors are very involved in their socials because that's how you promote your books. So I think that, anyway, that reads weird to me. But anyway, it reads like somebody who isn't part of like bookish socials, I guess is my point. Feeding the frenzy by answering fan questions, giving insight into her writing, and to seriously up the ante, she started to tease a sequel. All this makes sense from a business standpoint. I understand why she started a second story. It starts with us because, like, why wouldn't you? Like, you're a writer, it's also your business. Like, you're making money this way. Now she has 2 hit books and a devoted fan base on TikTok. Her older novels are getting traction too, with fans hungry for more Colleen Hoover content. The result, she has now sold over 20 million books, and she tops the Australian bestseller list, and she probably tops a bunch of others. And is currently the best-selling novelist in the United States. She has 1.1 million followers on TikTok and making a rather glorious platform to plug future books on. This is why you stay in your socials. Anyway, it seems that Hoover's latest release didn't go quite as planned. The author announced on Wednesday that she would be releasing a coloring book in April, a coloring book inspired by It Ends With Us, assumingly featuring its most popular characters and moments from the story. The announcement triggered a rallying cry from Hoover's fans, highlighting their concern that Hoover is making light of heavy topics like domestic abuse and gaslighting, bringing out a coloring book. How can you write a book about domestic abuse, about gaslighting and general emotional manipulation, and then think to yourself, you know what should we should make to commemorate this? A coloring book. So these are just, I guess, oh, this is nice. They put in some of the TikTok creators that have been talking about this, and there are a few people talking about this. As with most things on social media, the commentary was quick to gain traction and encouraged a speedy response from those at the center of the drama. Hoover and the coloring book publisher, Atria, an offshoot of publishing house Simon & Schuster, posted statements on Instagram on Thursday announcing they had pulled the coloring book, explaining to fans that no harm was intended with the release. No harm was intended. They just want your money. Just so you know. Hoover released her own statement. The coloring book was developed with Lily's strength in mind, but I can absolutely see how this was tone deaf. We can have a separate discussion about tone deaf if you want to have a discussion about tone deaf. We hear you guys, and I agree with you. No excuses, no finger pointing. I have contacted the publisher to let them know I would prefer not to move forward with it. Thank you for your respect. Since the controversy, Hoover has posted on Instagram and TikTok, but book talkers have celebrated the win, crediting their commentary for the reason the coloring book was pulled. I guess that's the general summary of what has occurred. And I just have some like really basic thoughts. I'm not expecting this to be some like crazy in-depth thing because I really want this to like open a discourse. So that's why I put that whole disclaimer in the beginning about being nice in the comments, because I really want to talk about this because I've been talking about it with other people. So I have not read the book. I've only read Verity. I do not have firsthand knowledge. From what I can glean from conversations with people who have read the book is that it's kind of divided from the few people that I've spoken to in person, how much people walked away with a feeling that the discussion of abuse was done well or not. And I think that's going to come down to like everybody's bias, right? So this is where we need to be a little bit nicer to each other in the book community sometimes, because some people are going to take, we're all coming to our books with different experiences and feelings, et cetera, et cetera. So we're all going to have different takeaways and ways that we feel at the end of it. And there may be something that I read that is not triggering or upsetting or feels like it was well done based on my life experience. And then, somebody else may feel differently. Now, I do not think that a coloring book that is a spin-off from a book that deals so heavily in domestic violence in general makes any sense. That feels like a total cash grab, and I wonder who initiated this. Was this something that's just like in CoHo's contract with Simon and Schuster, Atria, whoever, that's like, you're going to get paid X amount of money for the book, this, that, and any spin-offs, and they weren't specific about what the spin-offs were? Did she have to sign off on it? Did she put this idea out there? Did she say, it would be cool? Like, Lily sells flowers, let's make a coloring book. Is it that simple? Is it more complex than that? How much did she know about it? I'm curious to see what would be in the coloring book. Like, I would love to see mock-ups of that. We're never going to probably see that unless there's some insider who wants to like divulge that information. But I don't even know if there ever were any like mock-ups of the inside of the coloring book, but I'd be curious to see what that is. I do think this shows the power of BookTok and how they can give backlash and get things pulled, because we often have, I think about like American Dirt and how much uproar there was on like Booktube and Bookstagram when that book was coming out and the things that were happening around it. And that book is like, it's huge. People, I mean, I get recommended it all the time out in real life, and people are completely unaware of the fact that there would be any issue whatsoever. So the fact that Book Talk can actually get mad, make a stink, and get something pulled off the shelves or out of production, I think it's kind of huge. Like, this is a really telling moment for Book Talk. But I'm still just very confused over It Ends With Us and just all of the different discourse around this book. And I want to know from you guys, like, is it really glorifying abuse, or like handling it not well? Like, I'm not really sure, because clearly I haven't read it. I have read all different kinds of comments and responses from people in the discords that I'm in who have read it and their thoughts on it and all of that. And it's clear that for some people it seems like this is a really not well done book. For other people, it really doesn't seem like they even noticed, anything wrong. And I just don't know, like, do I just need to read this book now to figure out, like, for myself? I don't really want to read this book, but I don't know. I just thought we could come on and we could just quickly talk about the fact that this is going on. There's a lot of things going on. We're like 2 weeks into the year and someone's come back from the dead. People are complaining about how light brown hair isn't actually blonde. We're not going to get into that. And all kinds of other things that are happening in the bookish community. So it's been a wild couple of weeks. But this CoHo stuff is, I'm very interested in it. I think because of, I'm just so curious about how much say CoHo has in this whole endeavor. She's a big author now. She has clout and weight. Is this her idea? Was it her idea to make it, or did she just not see it as an issue? So when they asked her about it, she was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then when she saw the backlash, she has enough clout to say no, because not every author can do that. I mean, there is power in being a best-selling author, but I don't know. It's just crazy. It's this whole little ride was kind of crazy to me. Seeing a bookish social media actually have the power to get something changed is kind of crazy to me, because I've really only lived in like the late stage booktube and in bookstagram, and over there I feel like we're really just good at yelling amongst ourselves, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't go out into the real world. And it looks like book talk actually has the ability to affect change in real life, which is kind of inspiring in some ways. I think that that's amazing because there needs to be a little bit more wrong mirror. There needs to be a little bit more accountability sometimes. And maybe, we talk a lot in around here in different places about, like how do you get more marginalized authors shelf space and money, publishing money and all of that when you just keep getting money sent to the same kinds of authors all the time. Like the big names are eating up all of the budgets, and then the littler authors don't get any marketing money or anything. So then how are you ever gonna shift the landscape into a more diverse landscape? Maybe TikTok is really the place to do that, because it seems like as a platform as it stands today, because everything will change, because you know if you've been around for a while, the internet and social media changes every few years. So while Book Talk has the power, can Book Talk actually affect some really meaningful change in publishing? I'm very curious about that. I'm very, very curious about that. And I'd love to know your thoughts on whether or not you think Book Talk can actually change anything for the better overall, or if it's really just kind of always going to plod along the same way as it always has, the publishing industry. Yeah, so it's really like my general thoughts on this whole thing, but I kind of wanted to just open this up as more of like a discourse for people to talk about this. And also, like, I just don't think that Colleen Hoover is canceled. I think that this whole, and I've seen a couple other news articles that are like, Colleen Hoover is canceled. Colleen Hoover is not canceled. Her fans are not canceling her. I think they're saying, like, you misstepped here. Stop this. I think if she had gone forward with the coloring book, I think maybe then you'd be talking about an actual, like, we don't want to keep reading your books or anything like that. But I really don't think you're going to see somebody like Colleen Hoover canceled. But I do find it really interesting that Book Talk had the power to affect some change. And I'd love to see if we can harness that power to make really big strides in diversifying publishing. Appreciate you being here. I'd love to hear all your thoughts on all of the CoHo stuff or any of the other fun drama that's occurred in the last 2 weeks of January. I mean, coming back from the dead is wild. I didn't really have that like on any bingo card for any year, an author coming back from the dead. So that's crazy. Let me know if I just need to read It Ends With Us, or if I can just remain confused about how the domestic violence is treated in this story, because I am very confused, because I've read lots of different romance in my time. I've read a lot of like alpha male romance. There's a lot of abuse and emotional abuse that happens in those, and they are kind of glorified, and they are kind of, I wouldn't say they were handled well, but I still enjoyed them because I enjoyed them. But I enjoyed them as like a 20 something to 30-year-old lady. So I had other perspective on like how a relationship should work. And I wasn't like a 16-year-old girl reading it. And I guess some of the discourse around Coho and her books and some of the questionable relationships in them is how they may be impressionable on younger readers, because there are younger readers reading them, and that maybe they don't understand that you can have sort of like a fantasy life idea of romance, and then there's the things you would actually tolerate in real life. Because oftentimes, when I do read romance, a lot of my romances that I've read in the past are like, if this happened in real life, I'd call the cops, but in a romance it's cool. And I think there's a lot of romance readers out there who feel the same way, but they're not 16-year-old girls or boys or whoever, but they're not like young people. So I don't know. There's a lot of discourse here that can be had. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts in the comments. This is really just an open forum, like an open letter. Let's talk about Coho and romance featuring domestic violence and all of this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to finish up my face because I cannot do liner on camera. And I'm going to get to filming my other 2 videos that I wanted to do today. And I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for 1,000 subs. 1,000 subs. I didn't think this would ever happen. This is like the little channel that couldn't. So I am really grateful to everybody who is here, every new member, every old member, everyone who comments, even if you comment mean things, because the algorithm loves you. So the more you comment mean things, the algorithm don't care. The algorithm's happy with me. Anyway, Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think I ever wanna go, come closer next to me. Trying to find another way to say this, but I think